What happens when love refuses to let the dead stay dead? Wax magic turns artistic devotion into something monstrous, following a sculptor who transforms grief into ownership by remaking his wife as both artwork and weapon. Greetings, ghouls, and welcome to a dive into horror television. Tonight we explore Wax Magic from Friday the 13th, the series. We open at a carnival that looks like tons of fun. Do you guys like rides? Anyway, we meet Marie and her husband Aldwin. Marie has a head-splitting headache, and Aldwin wants the speakers blasting right above her head anyway. The man who runs the game next to her booth, Danny, offers her some aspirin, which should help her feel a little better at least. Marie faints. Her husband comes out from the back and pushes Danny away, even though he was just trying to help her. Aldwin takes her to the back. She can't see anymore, which isn't a good sign. Aldwin takes a cursed handkerchief and gives it to a dark-cloaked wax statue holding an axe. We learn that the figure is modeled after Lizzie Andrew Borden, the alleged axe murderer who killed her family. The figure might be alive since she starts walking away. Lizzie murders the couple we met earlier. Back at their trailer, Marie is starting to feel normal again. We head over to the thrift shop, and we meet up with our boys, Ryan and Jack. Ryan begs Jack to go to the carnival with him, and reluctantly Jack agrees. Ryan's going to buy some drinks, and he knocks into Marie, causing her to spill her drink all over. He buys a new one for her, and asks where the wax museum is located so he can go. Danny spots Marie walking with Ryan. Her husband is just thrilled to see her with another man. He's definitely the jealous type. Regardless, Ryan gets a tour of the wax museum. Ryan wants to see the part of the museum off-limit to visitors, and Marie is ready to allow him, but her mean husband puts a stop to that real quick. He yanks Ryan by the arm and forces him out. Marie falls over in pain. Outside, Ryan meets Danny, who's concerned for Marie's well-being. Jack is wondering if it's time to go yet. Back inside, Aldwin talks to the axe-holding statue. He gives the cursed handkerchief to her, and we know what that means. Someone else is going to get hacked to bits. We see two drunk men listening to the radio outside their truck. We watch as he's chopped up. Marie wakes up screaming. The next day, Ryan wants to go back to the carnival and check in on Marie. He's worried since her husband treats her like a piece of property. Ryan promises to be careful, and Jack reads his newspaper. Back at the wax museum, Aldwin is talking to the Lizzie statue. He's sorry for inconveniencing her. Marie walks in and she's instructed to wash off whatever spilled on Lizzie's dress. It's blood, and this sends Marie into a panic. She has flashbacks of the murder from last night. Danny yells that she needs to see a doctor. Can her husband see that there's something wrong with her? Aldwin bops Danny on the head and he leaves. Marie married a giant loser. Later on, Ryan goes to the carnival and sees that an investigation is underway. Ryan finds a wax finger on the ground and takes it with him. Ryan finds Marie and asks her to have a cup of coffee with him, and she agrees. She tells him about her dream from last night, how she saw someone getting killed by Lizzie Borden. She tells him how Lizzie Borden killed her parents with an axe in 1892. They're interrupted by her husband. The gates are open and it's time for work. A moment later, Jack sits down. They have work to do. There have been murders everywhere the carnival travels to, and everyone was killed with an axe and decapitated. Underneath the table, Danny is listening in. He cares deeply about Marie. Ryan sneaks around the wax museum looking for clues. He goes back into the no trespassing area and he finds Lizzie. Ryan continues looking around. He finds a severed head and can't help but wonder if it's real. At the same time, Marie and Aldwin are in the room next to him. Danny tells Ryan that they need to talk. Aldwin notices that someone has entered his private space. He stops the presentation to investigate, and he finds out just who it was, and he looks pissed. So Danny, Jack, and Ryan have a sit down and discuss what's going on with Marie. We learn that Marie was a townie when she met Aldwin. When they met, she wanted nothing to do with him, but a few days later, she came on tour with him. Her parents reported her missing and the cops came looking for her, but nothing came of it. Jack gives Danny his card and we see that Aldwin was listening in on their conversation. Back at the thrift shop, Ryan is all worked up trying to figure out how Aldwin is killing people. There's nothing in their cursed object manifest about wax, so there's nothing else they can do. That evening, Danny is walking around when he's cornered and slaughtered with an axe. The killer looks a lot like Marie, wearing a black robe. The police come to the scene and Aldwin is pleased. Aldwin tries to snuggle up with his wife, but she doesn't want him anywhere near her. He's possessive, angry, and lacks any understanding of the word consent. Marie doesn't want him, but it isn't because she found someone else, she just doesn't like him. Understandable. He threatens her that if she doesn't stop acting strange, he will give her the worst headache she's ever had. He somehow made her want to be with him, but we don't know exactly how yet. Back at the thrift shop, Ryan thinks we need to get Aldwin taken care of before someone else dies. Jack found out about a cursed handkerchief. It originally belonged to Louis XVI, but was given to Madame Tussaud. They realize Aldwin is using the handkerchief to bring Lizzie Borden back to life. At the carnival, Ryan asks Marie to take a break with him. That allows Jack to look around for the handkerchief. Mary and Ryan get to talking and he asks her why she married Aldwin. Is there something special he offered? Marie doesn't know. She's having scary flashbacks too. Ryan gives her his card. He wishes the best for her and wants to know what's really going on between her and Aldwin. Aldwin comes into the room and he's furious. He yells for his two henchmen who throw Ryan and Jack out of the attraction. Jack never found the handkerchief, sadly. Aldwin smacks Marie in the face and threatens Ryan's life. At the thrift shop, Jack tells Ryan to stop being so soft-hearted when it comes to a pretty face. A second later, Lizzie Borden comes for them, swinging her axe like a lunatic. She smashes up the store real good. She's about to get Jack once and for all, but thankfully Ryan sneaks up on her with a makeshift flamethrower. That proves to be an effective tool when fighting a wax figure. Too bad for Ryan when he realizes the person behind the robe is Marie, and her wax hand just melted. We figure out that Aldwin preserved her in wax, and she kills to preserve her life force. As she kills, she becomes increasingly alive. Marie wants Ryan to take her home. She's so confused. Ryan spots the handkerchief that's keeping her alive. He doesn't want her to die. Jack swears that she's already dead. Ryan can't watch. She begs him not to leave her alone, but he goes up the stairs. Only a second later, Aldwin is there and he's shooting at the two thrift store workers. He gets Jack with a bullet, so Ryan has to chase them down to retrieve the handkerchief and put an end to the madness at once. Marie asks Aldwin what's happening to her. She asks him why he would do this to her. Her nightmares were real. He made her kill people to stay alive. When she was alive, she didn't want to be with him, but in wax form, she accepts the relationship. That's so creepy. They hear a noise coming from inside the attraction, so Aldwin goes to investigate. Ryan jumps him, and they get in a fight. Aldwin has a knife, so it's not looking great for our boy Ryan. Marie gets knocked into and a fire erupts. She inches closer to the flame, and she melts, and Aldwin is devastated. Aldwin's idea of love is indistinguishable from ownership. He doesn't relate to Marie as a subject with desires, uncertainty, or agency. He relates to her as a thing that can be secured against loss. His affection only functions when Marie is fixed, compliant, and unable to leave. In this sense, wax magic frames possession not as an extreme version of love, but as its negation. Aldwin does not want Marie to grow, change, or choose differently. He wants a version of her that can never contradict him. By transforming her into wax, he removes the unpredictability that makes relationships reciprocal. The episode suggests that for Aldwin, intimacy is intolerable unless it's completely one-sided. Crucially, Marie's apparent acceptance of Aldwin only occurs after her autonomy has been chemically and metaphysically compromised. When she's alive, she resists him. When she's altered, when her memories fragment, her body betrays her, and her survival depends on obedience, she becomes affectionate. This is not a tragic love story. It's an indictment of desire that requires incapacity in the other person to function. The illusion of love collapses most clearly in Aldwin's terror of abandonment. He cannot tolerate the idea that Marie might leave him because that would mean acknowledging her as a separate person. Possession eliminates that risk. In this way, the episode aligns control with fear rather than passion. Aldwin's violence is not driven by desire, but by panic at the thought of being unwanted. Wax magic argues that love rooted in possession is structurally violent, even when it wears the mask of devotion. Aldwin preserves Marie to keep her forever, but what he preserves is not a relationship, it's a corpse that can no longer say no. Aldwin's obsession with Marie is driven by what he wants to possess, not who she is. From the beginning, his desire is expressed through control over her movements, her body, her attention, and even her pain. Consent is never part of the equation. it's treated as an obstacle to be removed. Marie's headaches, blackouts, and confusion signal a body under constant pressure. Rather than responding with care, Aldwin ignores or overrides her distress. His desire demands access regardless of her condition. When she resists, he escalates, monitoring her interactions, isolating her from others, and ultimately transforming her into wax. Desire becomes violent when it refuses to recognize refusal. The episode treats the female body not as a living subject, but as a curated display, an object meant to be looked at, managed, and preserved for consumption. Marie's transformation into a wax figure is not merely a supernatural twist, it is the episode's most pointed metaphor for how women are historically rendered visible only when immobilized. She becomes valuable to Aldwin precisely when she can no longer act, refuse, or leave. In the end, Marie's destruction is the final consequence of desire that refuses limits. Aldwin would rather see her preserved, obedient, and dead than alive and free. The episode makes its position clear. Desire that ignores consent does not seek connection, it seeks ownership. Museums promise preservation, education, and reverence, but they also freeze their subjects in time. Marie is folded into this logic. Once waxed, her body is no longer her own. It becomes an artifact with a function. She's dressed, positioned, and displayed according to Aldwin's desires, not her identity. The episode exposes how exhibition often masquerades as admiration while erasing agency. Marie's dilemma is quietly devastating. To live, she must kill. To stop killing, she must die. There's no ethical exit once Aldwin has rewritten the terms of her existence. This isn't a story about guilt, it's about stolen choice. Ryan's refusal to decide for her is significant. He can't save Marie without becoming another man who chooses her fate. The episode does not offer catharsis or rescue, it offers consequence. Some violations cannot be undone without loss. Wax magic is not about cursed objects, it's about what happens when love becomes possession and preservation replaces care. The supernatural elements simply make visible what was already there, a man who would rather turn someone into an object than risk being unwanted. The wax melts, the exhibit burns, and what remains is the episode's bleak truth. Control may look like devotion, but it always ends in destruction. As Rebecca Solnit once said, violence is the language of patriarchy. The episode was directed by William Fruitt, who directed The House by the Lake, Spasms, and The Egg Factory. The House by the Lake looks good, I'll have to check it out. The writer was Carl Binder, who is mostly known for producing Stargate Atlantis, Stargate Universe, and Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. Marie was played by Susanna Hoffman, who was in an episode of Goosebumps as well as My Secret Identity, and Anne of Avonlea. Aldwin was played by Angelo Rizakos. He was in an episode of The Hitchhiker, as well as The Big Town, Philip Marlowe, Private Eye, and Physical Evidence. Danny was played by Yvonne LaBelle, and he was in an episode of Goosebumps, as well as Black Robe, Freak Show, and The Spreading Ground. Overall, this episode was enjoyable. I'll rate it a 9 out of 10 for the series Friday the 13th. It was creative, well-produced, and kept me engaged. Leave me your thoughts down below, and remember to be well and stay spooky.